All right, let's dive into Tweefy today. This AI platform, it's making waves on Twitter, especially for those of you interested in AI agents, virtual influencers, and, well, how all of this is shaping online trends. We've got Tweefy's own documentation and some insights from Eliza. That's an open source AI agent framework that
Yeah,
seems to be connected somehow.
it does. Yeah.
Fair warning, though, these docs can get pretty technical.
Yeah, a bit.
Don't worry, we'll break it all down for you.
Exactly.
First off, Tweefy. It wants to be your one-stop shop, your AI Twitter manager. Imagine having this like super smart assistant tweaking everything you do on the platform.
It's a bold goal for sure. They want to automate and optimize like practically every aspect of managing your Twitter.
So they've got a whole bunch of features, but the ones you'll probably find most interesting are content generation, automating all your interactions, analyzing market trends, and get this, they can even create AI influencers.
It's pretty wild.
Think about it. Tweefy could create top-notch tweets and images,
Yeah.
all based on what you tell it. And then it can go out and interact like a real person,
Yeah.
liking stuff, replying, retweeting, all while keeping an eye on what's trending, making sure your content stays relevant.
Now, from a technical standpoint, Tweefy's architecture is pretty impressive. They've gone with a microservices approach, which means the platform is designed to be super scalable and flexible.
Okay.
And they're using some seriously cutting-edge AI models, GPT-4, Claude 3.5, and Stable Diffusion. And here's the real kicker. They've integrated Tweefy with the Eliza framework,
Oh, interesting.
which is all about intelligent decision-making and getting tasks done.
This Eliza connection, that's really intriguing.
Yeah.
Sounds like it plays a big part in how Tweefy creates these AI influencers.
I think so, yeah.
We'll definitely dig into that a bit later.
Definitely.
But first, let's take a peek under the hood, see what makes Tweefy's AI tick.
Okay.
One of the key things they use is something called reinforcement learning.
Right. Tweefy's algorithms are always learning from how your tweets perform. They're constantly fine-tuning their strategies to get you the most engagement.
So it's like having a personal AI coach analyzing what your audience likes
Uh-huh.
and adjusting your approach.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And it gets even better. Tweefy pulls in data from all over the web. It's not just looking at Twitter.
So it's trying to figure out what's going to be popular tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
not just reacting to what's trending right now.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive, staying ahead of the curve. That's what makes Tweefy so effective.
Okay, now let's get back to this Eliza framework. As I understand it, it's designed to create those AI agents that can interact on platforms like Twitter.
Exactly. And that's likely where it comes into play with Tweefy's influencer creation.
So these AI influencers, they're not just some generic bots spitting out pre-programmed content.
No, they're designed to have their own unique personalities and behaviors. They're meant to feel like real people.
That's, I don't know, it's pretty fascinating and kind of unsettling, don't you think?
For sure. It definitely raises some interesting questions about online identity and like where the line is between humans and AI online.
Okay, enough teasing. Let's talk about what you can actually DO with Tweefy,
Hmm.
especially with those AI influencers.
Okay, sounds good.
The documentation highlights a few really cool uses. First up, imagine making a virtual influencer that represents your brand.
Mm-hmm.
It can tweet engaging content, interact with followers 24/7, all without you having to lift a finger.
Yeah. And from a business point of view, the advantages are pretty clear. It's way cheaper than hiring a human influencer. You have full control over what they say, and they're always working.
Plus, no more worrying about influencer scandals.
Right,
you know?
definitely. You get rid of all the unpredictability that comes with working with humans.
But AI influencers aside, it seems like Tweefy is just a powerhouse for intelligent marketing in general. Think about hyper-targeted campaigns, all automated, optimized in real time based on data.
It's essentially a whole marketing team packed into an AI platform. Since it's constantly learning and analyzing data, it can adapt and refine its strategies much faster than any human team ever could.
So it's not just automating tasks, it's making them smarter and more effective.
That's right.
And then there's brand management. Tweefy can help you maintain a consistent image for your brand, engage with users, and respond to feedback. All those essential tasks, but now with an AI twist.
And remember, Tweefy isn't just responding, it's analyzing what people are saying. It understands how they feel about your brand, what they're worried about. It uses that to inform your strategy.
It's like having an AI focus group, constantly giving you insights into how people see your brand.
Exactly. It takes sentiment analysis to a whole new level.
Okay, this is all super impressive. But I have to ask, what about the creative side? Can AI really replicate that human touch when it comes to making content?
That's a great question, and it's something a lot of people are wrestling with as AI gets more advanced.
I mean, can an algorithm really understand things like humor, emotion, all the nuances of how humans communicate?
That's where things get really interesting. AI can definitely mimic those elements, but it doesn't necessarily understand them the same way we do.
So there's still a place for human creativity.
Absolutely. I think the future of content creation is going to be all about humans and AI working together.
I see what you mean. Like using AI tools like Tweefy to take care of the technical stuff, generating ideas, optimizing for engagement, maybe even writing first drafts of tweets.
Exactly. And then humans can come in and add their unique touch, injecting personality, humor, and emotional depth.
It's a partnership, not a replacement. That's actually quite reassuring.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, we've covered a lot here, but I want to talk about the elephant in the room. The ethics of these AI influencers. It's a fascinating idea,
Yeah,
but it also raises some concerns.
for sure. Transparency is key here. Users deserve to know whether they're interacting with a real person or an AI.
And what about the potential for manipulation? Could AI influencers be used to spread misinformation, promote products in a misleading way?
That's a valid concern, and it's something we need to address as a society. We need ethical guidelines, regulations to make sure that AI is used responsibly.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the values we bake into it.
Exactly. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's our job to make sure it's used ethically for the benefit of everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about what Tweefy can do, especially this whole AI influencer thing, but I'm curious about the tech behind it all. Like, how does it actually work?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The documentation goes pretty deep into how Tweefy is built, and it's clear they're using some serious tech.
Yeah, they mentioned using a microservices approach. Now, I'm not exactly a tech whiz. What does that even mean?
Okay, so imagine a car engine. Instead of one big block, it's made up of all these smaller parts that all work together. Each one has its own job.
So Tweefy is like a well-oiled machine, each part handling a specific task.
Exactly. That makes it super flexible and scalable. They can update or improve different parts without messing up the whole system.
Gotcha. So what are some of these parts? They must be using some pretty advanced stuff to power all these AI features.
Well, on the front end, it seems pretty standard. React.js for the framework, Redux for state management, and then either Tailwind CSS or Material UI for styling. All solid choices for a modern web app.
Okay, but what about the AI stuff? That's what I'm really interested in.
Ah, yes. The heart of it all, they're using some of the biggest names in AI. GPT-4, Claude 3.5, even Llama 3.3 for natural language processing. And for image generation, it's Stable Diffusion, all cutting-edge stuff.
I feel like there's a but coming.
Well, even with all that power, there are limitations. These models are only as good as the data they learn from. And the internet, it's always changing. New slang, new trends. It's a constant challenge to keep these models up to date.
So it's not just a set it and forget it thing.
Definitely not. Tweefy needs to keep refining those models and algorithms to stay on top of things. It's like training an athlete. You always got to push for improvement.
Speaking of training, they mentioned something called reinforcement learning and strategy optimization. Can you explain that?
Sure. So that's how Tweefy figures out what works on Twitter. It's like a constant feedback loop. Every time a tweet does well, gets likes, retweets, new followers, the AI gets a little reward.
It's like training a dog, right? Good tweet, good boy.
Haha, kind of, but instead of treats, it's data. Tweefy learns from every interaction and adjusts its strategies.
That's really smart. So it's always experimenting, trying to find the perfect formula for each user.
Yep, exactly. And because it's AI, it can do this at a scale and speed that humans just can't match.
Okay, this is starting to sound less like a tool and more like a digital marketing partner. One that's constantly learning and adapting to help you succeed.
I think that's a good way to put it. Tweefy, it's a whole system, not just a bunch of features. It's designed to be proactive and intelligent.
But with all this automation and AI stuff, I wonder about the practical side, like user management, data security. How does Tweefy handle all that?
You're right. Those are really important things. The documentation mentions OAuth 2 for authentication and JWT for authorization.
Sorry, those are a bit over my head.
Okay, think of it this way. OAuth 2 is like a bouncer at a club. It checks your ID before you can get in. JWT is like a VIP pass. Once you're in, it gives you access to certain areas.
So Tweefy uses these industry standard things to make sure only the right people can access sensitive information.
Exactly. And they're also using a web application firewall, like Cloudflare, to block attacks, and intrusion detection systems to monitor things in real time. They're definitely taking security seriously.
That's good to hear. Now, we've talked a lot about data, but where does it all come from? Is it just stuff from Twitter?
Actually, Tweefy is pretty resourceful. It uses a combination of web scraping and Twitter API integration.
Hold on, web scraping. That sounds kind of, I don't know, shady.
No, it's pretty common. Think of it like an AI researcher, gathering information from all sorts of sources. That's how Tweefy gets a wider view of trends and what people are talking about online.
So it's not just looking at what people say on Twitter. It's also looking at news articles, blogs, forums, all that stuff.
Exactly. It gives Tweefy a much deeper understanding of the context behind what's happening on Twitter.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does Tweefy take all that raw data and turn it into something useful?
Well, they use a bunch of data analysis techniques. They mention tools like Prophet for analyzing trends over time, and BERT for sentiment analysis, figuring out the emotional tone behind tweets.
So Prophet helps Tweefy see what's getting popular, and BERT helps it understand how people feel about a topic.
You got it. Those are just a couple of examples. But they show how Tweefy uses data analysis to get insights that humans would have a really hard time figuring out on their own.
This is starting to sound like a pretty sophisticated system.
It is. Tweefy is a really good example of how far AI has come in the last few years. It's this amazing mix of cutting-edge technology and clever engineering.
Okay, so I think we've covered the tech side pretty well.
Yeah.
Let's get back to that AI influencer thing. What does the documentation say about how Tweefy actually creates these influencers?
Well, it seems like they take a very holistic approach. It's not just about making content, it's about creating a whole persona.
So we're not talking about some faceless bot just spitting out generic tweets.
No, these AI influencers are supposed to have their own personalities, backstories, even visual identities. Tweefy can make profile pictures, write engaging bios, and even create a consistent tone of voice for them.
Wow. It sounds like Tweefy is almost like a digital talent agent, scouting and developing these virtual stars.
That's a great analogy. And just like a human agent, Tweefy manages everything for the influencer, making content, scheduling posts, interacting with followers.
But wouldn't all this automation make the influencers feel, I don't know, too perfect, too robotic? People would be able to tell they're not real, right?
You've got a point. I'm sure the developers are working on making them more believable, maybe adding some randomness or unpredictability to how they act.
Or even simulating human errors or quirks to make them more relatable. No one's perfect, after all.
Exactly. A little imperfection can make them feel a lot more authentic.
So maybe the key to making AI influencers really convincing is to let them be imperfect, just like us.
That's an interesting thought. Maybe that's the next step in AI development, finding that balance between artificial intelligence and genuine humanness.
Well, something for the Tweefy folks to think about. But overall, this whole AI influencer thing is pretty impressive.
I agree. It's a game changer for influencer marketing. It's not just about reach and engagement anymore. It's about creating these virtual beings that can actually connect with people emotionally.
Okay, let's move on to some of Tweefy's other uses. They talk about intelligent marketing campaigns. What does that mean?
It sounds like Tweefy uses its AI to create really targeted and effective marketing campaigns. It uses keyword search to find relevant conversations, generates content to write compelling ads, and analyzes data to optimize how the campaign performs, all in real time.
So it's basically taking everything good about digital marketing and giving it an AI boost.
Exactly. It's like having a team of marketing experts working 24/7, analyzing data, testing things out, constantly refining your campaigns to get the best results.
And with all that data analysis, it can probably get way better results than traditional marketing, right?
Most likely. AI is changing the whole marketing game, and platforms like Tweefy are leading the way.
Okay, so we've got AI influencers, intelligent marketing campaigns. What else can Tweefy do?
Well, they also talk about enterprise brand management.
How can Tweefy help businesses manage their brand on Twitter?
It can automate a lot of the tasks involved in brand management, like writing and scheduling tweets, answering customer questions, and monitoring how people feel about the brand. That frees up human teams to focus on the bigger picture.
So it's like having a social media team that never sleeps, even when everyone's clocked out for the day.
Exactly. Tweefy can make sure your brand is always active on Twitter, maintaining a consistent presence and interacting with your audience.
But wouldn't all that make the brand feel less human? Less personal? No one wants to feel like they're talking to a robot, right?
That's true. It's important to find the right balance between automation and real human interaction. Maybe Tweefy could handle the routine things, like scheduling tweets and answering common questions, and then human teams can focus on building relationships and having those more complex conversations.
So it's about finding the right mix of AI and human input, using the strengths of both.
Right. AI should help us do things better, not replace us entirely. It's about working together to create a brand experience that's more effective and engaging.
Right. So we've got AI influencers, intelligent marketing, brand management. Any other interesting things Tweefy can do?
Well, they mention event marketing.
So how could Tweefy be used to promote events on Twitter?
Okay, imagine using Tweefy to generate all sorts of event content, schedule tweets in the lead up to the event, and even interact with people attending the event in real time. It could even analyze hashtags and conversations about the event to find out what people are saying and what's trending.
So it's like a virtual event planner, taking care of all the social media buzz and getting people excited about the event.
Exactly. It could be a really powerful tool for event organizers, helping them reach more people, create a more engaging experience, and even collect valuable data to improve future events.
It's amazing how many different ways you can use Tweefy. It really does feel like it could change how we use Twitter.
Definitely. It has the potential to be a game changer for everyone, individuals, businesses, even whole organizations.
Okay, we've covered a lot today, but before we wrap up, I want to circle back to that Eliza thing one last time. How does this open source framework fit into the whole Tweefy picture?
Remember, Eliza is a framework for making these autonomous AI agents. These agents can be designed to do specific things, like talking on Twitter, managing calendars, even controlling smart home devices.
So it's like a platform for building custom AI bots, like a
Yeah.
virtual toolbox for AI developers.
Exactly. And that flexibility is what makes Eliza so powerful when you combine it with Tweefy. Tweefy can use Eliza to create AI agents that handle specific parts of what it does.
Can you give me an example? How did that work in practice?
Okay, think about Tweefy's AI influencer thing. Each virtual influencer could be managed by its own Eliza agent. That agent would be in charge of creating content, interacting with followers, and changing its strategies based on the influencer's personality and goals.
So each influencer would have its own AI brain powered by Eliza.
In a way, yeah. This allows for a level of personalization and autonomy that would be really hard to achieve without something like Eliza.
That's fascinating. Combining Tweefy and Eliza seems to unlock a whole new level of AI-powered social media management.
I think so. It's a powerful combination that could change how we interact with online platforms, especially the ones that rely so much on human connection and communication.
This is all incredible, but I have to ask, what about the human element? Are we going to lose that personal touch as AI becomes more common in our online interactions?
That's a question a lot of people are asking, and I think the answer is finding the right balance. AI should help us do things better, not replace us completely.
So it's not about humans versus AI, it's about humans and AI working together.
Exactly. It's about using the best of both to create an online experience that's more efficient, more engaging, and ultimately more human.
It's interesting, isn't it? We started talking about Tweefy as this AI Twitter manager. But this conversation, it's really made me think about the bigger picture, like how AI is going to affect everything.
It is fascinating. Tweefy is almost like a little example of the bigger questions we're facing. Automation, AI, what's going to happen to jobs?
It makes you wonder, what will a world run by AI actually be like? Will it be amazing, super efficient, everyone has tons of free time? Or will it be, mass unemployment and chaos?
Those are some big questions, and I don't think anyone has all the answers yet, but I think it's important to be, cautiously optimistic.
Cautious optimism, I like that. So not just blindly accepting every new technology,
Right.
but also not being afraid of how it can help us.
Right. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in good ways or bad ways. We have to make sure we're using it ethically, responsibly.
Speaking of ethics, we talked about some of the concerns with those AI influencers. But what about the bigger picture? What happens when it gets harder and harder to tell the difference between humans and AI?
That's something philosophers and ethicists are really struggling with right now. We're in uncharted territory. There's no rule book for this.
It's like we're making up the rules as we go.
Yeah, kind of. And that's why these conversations are so important. We need to think about the consequences, make sure we're developing AI in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but it's also a huge opportunity. We have the chance to shape the future, to use AI to solve problems, create a better world.
That's an amazing thought. So maybe Tweefy isn't just about making tweets better. Maybe it's a glimpse into a future where AI helps us achieve things we never thought possible.
I love that. Tweefy, with its AI influencers and intelligent marketing, it's just one example of how AI is changing things. And this is just the start. There's so much potential.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Tweefy. It's been an amazing journey. I feel like I've learned so much, not just about AI and social media, but about the future.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you. And to our listeners, keep thinking about AI, what it means for you, and talk about the future you want to see.
If you want to learn more about Tweefy and see what it can do, we'll put links to their documentation in the show notes. And be sure to join us next time for another deep dive into the world of cutting-edge tech. Until then, keep exploring.